How can you start to commit to being a good steward? And this is going to test us. Are we being good stewards of our money? Why? Because they've never become good stewards of money. Stewardship. In a 7-year spiritual year, we're required to be good stewards, incredible stewards of our life, of our spirit, of our time, of our money. And this is going to test us. Are we being good stewards of our money? You know, what happens with most people is once they get money, they spend it. They spend it. I mean, look at people who live paycheck to paycheck. I had a client once who was making almost $500,000 a year. That was her paycheck. And she was still living paycheck to paycheck. And we had to shift that mindset so that she became a good steward of her money and then allowed it to watch, made changes so she could watch it grow. Versus, I mean, why are we living paycheck to paycheck when you started probably a minimum wage when you're young? And as you grow older, we're still in this constraints because most people, as soon as they make money, they start spending it. I had a tenant one time, and this was a year and a half ago. I just bought a property and I had to vacate the entire building because we were going to do a lot of renovations. And, they were in there for a few months, and it was probably May where I said, we kind of need you to move out. And she was distraught and she was upset. She's like, I wish you would have told me earlier because I got the tax refund. Maybe it was like June. She's like, I just got a tax refund and I spent it all. But had you told, like, it was my fault. Had you told us earlier, I would have saved that money for my move. And I just thought, wow, that's why she's in a position she's in, is because she is living paycheck to paycheck. She is, as soon as she got a tax refund, and because she got this money, she spent it. We just went through COVID. Now, a lot of people got some big checks during COVID. And then now they're feeling the pain of that money running out and now having to not have business. We had a thriving, businesses were thriving for a lot of people during COVID because the real estate market was up, the demand for food was up, for supplies. The government was just dishing out checks like there was no tomorrow. There was massive money going out to people. And people were thriving during that time. And right now they're in a place where, holy schmoly, what do I do? It's because they were not good stewards of their money, versus other people who used that money and invested, or used that money or looked at that money and said, but I'm still maintaining my standard of living. I am, I'm using my money wisely. I'm using my money for assets, not liabilities, until I become 100% financially free. Meaning my money is working for me versus me working for my money. I am not going to invest in liabilities. I'm not going to spend money that doesn't bring me any real value. So we're required to be good stewards of our money. For those of you who work with me, you know about Date with Dollars. You know about really looking at your assets, looking at your income, looking at what you're spending money on. You know how to, we have lots of tools and resources for you to do that, and how to start thinking about where you're allocating your money, because most people, again, are living 100% of their income, whereas we should be living at 50%. That should really be our goal. And within that 50%, we allocate it towards different things that ensure our financial future. So being stewards of money, and here's one thing that I want to share with you. Just imagine you have your favorite grandchild, your favorite niece, your favorite, I wouldn't say favorite daughter, favorite child, but sometimes we do. Just imagine you're taking your children to the ice cream store, like thrifty ice cream, the best, right? Get the cone, get the ice cream on top, and they just kind of have that round block thing that they just kind of stick on top of the ice cream cone. So your grandchild, your child wants ice cream. And you walk by Thrifties, you're like, yeah, let's go get some ice cream because you love your child. You want to give them a little treat. And you walk in there and they get their, Rocky Road ice cream that's on that cone. And they're happy and they're licking it. And they're, thank you, grandma, thank you, mom, thank you, auntie. And they walk out the door. And as soon as they walk out the door, their hand tilts a little way and the ice cream on top just falls to the ground. And they're sad and they're in shock. And they don't know how that happened, right? They were enjoying their ice cream 1 minute, the next minute that scoop was gone. And they're sitting there with an empty ice cream cone. And you look at them and, you feel bad and you're not going to punish them. It's not their fault. Thrifties, they just kind of lay it on top. So you're like, oh, no worries, honey. We'll go back in there and get another one. So you go in, you wait in line, and your child, we'll call her Mary, notices that everyone's getting 2-3 scoops of ice cream. So you got this great cone and there's Rocky Road and strawberry and, sherbet right on top, this great, ice cream cone. And they look at you and say, mom, auntie, can I get 3 scoops? I want to get 3 scoops. That looks fun. That looks yummy. Now, as much as you love your child, your niece, your grandchild, it would be irresponsible of you to give them 3 scoops of ice cream. Why? It's not because you don't love them. It's not because you don't have the money. It's not because of anything other than they didn't show that they could take care of that 1 scoop. How are they going to take care of 3 scoops? It would be irresponsible. It would almost be mean because they're going to drop it. They need, it's a little 3-year-old hand or a 4-year-old hand holding that ice cream. Okay. And so think about that when it comes to money. It would be almost irresponsible for the universe to give you millions of dollars if you can't show how to take care of 50,000, 100,000, even $500,000. So there's almost like these stages of growth that we have to go through. You hear the lottery stories of people who win the lottery, and they're the same place or even worse off 3 to 5 years later. Why? Because they've never become good stewards of money. And so if we want to be prepared for this next level of abundance, we have to learn to become stewards of money. You got to manage your pennies. You can manage your pennies, you can manage your dollars. If you can manage your dollars, you can manage the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you can manage the hundreds of thousands, you'll be able to manage the millions. I know people who've made multi-millions and have lost everything because they never managed it well. So being a steward is one of those things. So how can you start to commit to being a good steward? It's commit to those date with dollars. Start to get a hold of your finances. You should know off the bat what interest rates you're paying or what interest rates you're getting. You should know what your stock market is doing. You should know how much cash you have. You should know how much debt you owe. You should know, all of this money, where all the accounts are. And I'm talking to the men and the women. And specifically women who give their finances over to the men. You need to know where all that money is. And so we need to become good stewards of our money.